The concept of total cost of ownership, or TCO, has been used in financial analysis for about a century, and in our world of technology for maybe the last 20 or 25 years. A lot of times we tend to think about the cost of an asset, a desktop or a laptop computer, as the cost to acquire it. A different way of looking at the asset's cost is to think about the total cost of owning that asset during its lifetime. In the case of a desktop computer, for example, the acquisition cost may be something like $500 or $700. But if you think about that desktop having a lifespan of 3 or 4 years, a total cost of ownership calculation would include a wide range of cost. Those factors include things like the cost to set it up, configure it, and connect it to a network, the cost to support it during its lifetime of 3 or 4 years, including diagnosing its problems, troubleshooting, repairs, user support, and so on, the cost to dispose of it, the cost of the software that we need to make that computer into a productive tool, as well as the cost of future software upgrades, support of the software, installation of the software, and so on. The cost of local area and wide area networking that connects this device to our networks in the wider world. And then finally, the cost of the server capacity that supports it, along with all the other costs associated with maintaining that server. There are a number of industry measurements and over 2 decades of comprehensive research that suggests the acquisition cost is often only about 10% of the total cost of ownership for an IT desktop during its lifetime. The figure may be somewhat higher in nonprofits, but I think the 10% figure is more reliable for us than not. So how do we apply that? In nonprofits, we often make our purchase decisions based on the acquisition cost and then find that later on, we can't manage the desktop reliably or affordably. We end up with too much consumer-grade equipment in our organization that creates a lot of problems with networking and support. In many cases, buying too cheap is costing us way too much in the long run. Paying more attention to total cost of ownership reminds us that acquisition cost shouldn't influence more than about 10 to 20% of our purchase decision. The other factors account for 80 to 90% of that decision. There are some best practices in the technology industry that are designed to lower the total cost of ownership during a computer's lifetime. Some of the ones that I recommend most strongly include buying industrial grade rather than consumer grade devices. That is, devices that are made to be networked and supported for the long term. Second, sticking with a preferred brand. Decisions to change brands should be made very carefully and with serious analysis. And then third, within that brand, working with a standard model over a time period of 6 to 9 months. And again, the decision to change models should be made carefully and in a controlled way. Bottom line, in a well-managed technology environment, quality of manufacture and design will pay for itself quickly. Remember, variance will drive cost up, standards will tend to move costs down.